Good afternoon. Why seem like this morning when I was here, I said good morning, nobody also responded. Good afternoon. Are you all still awake? Give me a wave if you are still alive. Okay, great. First and foremost, thank you for staying until 4:30. I know it's not easy. Stomach may be acting up, maybe waist is telling you traffic is slowly building up. But thank you for staying until right now. I promise that this session will not be that painful and I'll make it worth your while. Is that all right? Cool. So as introduced, my name is Jen. I represent a company called OpenMinds. Basically, it's very simple. We help companies maximize their digital presence using three things, whether it's digital marketing, using data analytics, and also in technology development. But today, I wouldn't spend so much time talking about myself. In fact, I'll jump straight to it to cover what we're supposed to cover today, in which the clicker is not responding to me right now. All right, which is to talk about the importance of connected data in your customer journey. Now, just before me going into this, right, how many of you would say that you are quite happy with your own data analytics efforts, that you kind of know what you're doing using data for your business? Anybody like that? 2, 3 hands. How many of you have totally no idea on what data is all about? Also a few hands. How about the rest of you? What's happening? Hopefully at the end of this session, you get a better idea on how you can actually utilize this data thing. Because one thing I found, right, dealing with a lot of companies out there is that there's a lot of hype when we talk about data and big data. But a lot of us, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get confused myself. Like, what on earth is this thing called big data? And how could companies, SMEs, maybe startups even, how do we even tap into this? How do we even start? And this session is to exactly cover that, especially on the aspect of your own customer journey. I don't know how the other speakers do this, but it's not responding to me. So, we live in a multi-channel, multi-screen, and everything world. When I say that, right, what I really mean is that in today's time, we spend a lot of time using different digital platforms, even as a consumer. Do you agree? Yeah? In fact, if you don't believe me, right, think about it. In your daily life, the moment you wake up, you probably touch your phone the first thing when you wake up, and the last thing you go to bed is still your phone. And throughout the entire day, right, we actually just interact with different kind of screens and different kind of channels. On screen here, you'll see a typical day, right? Maybe you wake up, the first thing you will look at, maybe it's your WhatsApp, you look at your Facebook, how anybody tagged you, then maybe you head to the gym, doing your breakfast, you browse Instagram, during transmute, you use things like Spotify, you go on Facebook, at lunch, you view certain things. The whole day, you're exposed to different channels. And that's our daily life. But the sad part here is that us as businesses, sometimes, when we buy ads or when we post content, we disregard this behavior of a user. We post ads to our convenience. We post content, which I call shock sindiri, because it's the most convenient to me. Today I remembered it. Today I think it's the best time to post, so I post lah. I don't really care, right? But we disregard that at every day, all of us have some sort of a routine going on with this platform, and we kind of miss things out. That said, right, we actually live in a time where we are all fighting, all of us businesses, we're not just fighting for attention, but we're fighting for a limited pool of quote-unquote payment. And I'm not talking about cash. I'm not talking about the final conversion in terms of cash. I'm talking about things like attention. We're fighting for time from our consumers. We are fighting for views, because there's only X amount of sites and pages and content or ads that we can see on a daily basis. But what are businesses doing? No, we bombard them with more ads. We post more things. 1 not enough, push 2. 2 not enough, 3, put more. Does that work? I tell you up front, it does not. So I'm just going to share with you 3 simple truths, and then wrap up this session in the next 16 minutes or so. The first truth is this. A lot of us as businesses, when we talk about data analytics, the first thing that comes into our mind is to collect personal information. And I don't know how many of you are here, but I'm sure there are some of you here that will probably ask this question before. I collect all this personal information, then do what? Collect already and what? I got 1,000, 10,000 people, email addresses, names, gender, then what do I do with it? Now, you see, I'm going to put up on screen right now a very simple customer journey. Also can be seen as a marketing funnel. You see, I'm getting closer and closer to the thing, just I'm trying to click the slides. To talk about this, And for a customer, right, before ending up to the action phase, we go through, of course, a discovery and consideration phase, which as per any marketing book would probably tell you as part of the funnel. But a lot of times, us as brands forget that even on the discovery phase, customers are already paying you, not in terms of cash, but in the form of their time and their views. And when we move on to the consideration stage, it's moving now, right? Then you have things like opt-ins. You have their likes, the engagements, the shares, their contact information that you collect from the customers, in which they pay you in hopes of certain form of value. And of course, last but not least, they end up to this phase before action. So you're looking at things like the downloads and the actual spend of money. You're helping me to click, right? Thank you very much. So when I do this, you press. Thank you. Press. I think this is cooler. Now there's some effect. Now, see, the problem is that at every stage, whether it's attention, information, or conversion, with all these things in place, right, a lot of us as businesses, we take the easy way out. What we like doing is to look at this and say, oh yeah, customers spend a lot of time viewing my ads. Oh, there's X amount of likes, there's X amount of shares. Oh, okay, some sort of download. And we kind of set these three components apart, forgetting the fact that if we are able to just combine some of this data and look beyond just customer contact details, right? There's a lot more insights that a brand can actually take out of just these three very simple steps. You're looking at behavioral patterns, and you're not looking at just broad demographics. You're able to look at even social behaviors. On the certain time that you post, what kind of effects you can actually gain out of it. But these are the things that a lot of brands are really not tapping into. I'll go a little bit deeper in the second point. Now, the second truth is this. Businesses don't have a synergized data strategy or objective at all. They just go on whatever platform they want, and they just say, oh yeah, people say good to collect, then I collect lah. But I don't know why am I collecting this information, but I have this database, I keep pulling in information, and so on. And the previous speaker earlier, Sinchi, I stole this picture of her. I was sitting right there. I took this picture of her speaking. Right now it's working. Can you go back one slide, please? That next one, yeah. Cool. So she put out this quote, right? She said that we live in an age of deep personalization. If it does not speak to me, I ain't clicking on any content. And then she brought out these few things: the language, the pains, the objections, the hopes and the dreams, and whatever else, right? We talk about the personalization bit. And then here comes the question: how do I personalize this content? You know, it sounds good, all these ad buying tactics, all these marketing tactics, content and all that. Yeah, all of us know these things, but how? Going down further, one of the main problems we realize when working with companies is that we cannot personalize because we tend to separate all these different funnels, all these different channels or platforms available that's slowly popping up on screen. And it's not everything yet. We tend to have different people focusing, okay, you are part of the social media team, please go aside. You're part of the email marketing team, go this side. Oh, you are focused in CRM and loyalty program, you are a different team. And these three teams also talk to each other at all. And when you don't talk to each other, what happens? Your marketing efforts become decentralized. You can't link up whatever data you have within your own ecosystem. But instead, imagine if you're able to combine some of these things together. What if you're able to use the interest or demographics data from social media, remarket it using Messenger, whether it's WeChat, WhatsApp, or Facebook Messenger? What if you're able to take some of the visitors' demographics from website, funnel it down, and then approach a relevant e-wallet provider as an advertising output? Or identify which marketplaces that should go in based on some of this data. If you're able to connect all these different channels together, what you're able to discover from your customers becomes a lot greater, especially if you're able to even move to the next, which is to integrate them and to have certain form of synergy with your traditional systems. Whether it's your POS systems, whether it's your CCTV data, meaning visual analytics, your CRM information, even small things like your barcode scanners in some of your physical stores if you have, or even promoter check-ins around the world, right? By being able to link online to offline right now, if you're able to synchronize these two parts of the data, then again you take another step further. Right now, you are not just talking about behavioral of the users clicking through your website. Right now, you're talking about whether there's a difference in terms of shopping behavior between your online products and your offline products. How many steps does it take offline compared to how many steps the customer takes online? That can only happen if you're able to combine these dots together. And to illustrate this a little bit better for you, I stole this slide from Gartner, but I thought it summarizes it very well. A lot of times in a company, we have all these different circles, right, that focuses on different things. We have, some of you maybe a little bit more advanced, you invest in certain IoT devices. You have your own operational data, you have your customer data, and you have different ecosystems you have set up, maybe your partners, your suppliers, your supply chain, and all that. And until the day where we are able to see how some of this data can be shared and centralized, we are not really making use of data at all. Just looking at the number of likes and counts and your ad spend does not equal to anything. One client that I've been working with closely is a fashion-based client, and what we've helped them do is to connect all these different platforms together. So data from Shopify, they use Shopify as an engine. On POS, they actually use StoreHub as their POS provider as well, and all these different data, right? So after linking and connecting all these different sales channels and marketing channels, we were able to actually very accurately identify 3 very main points that could be very beneficial to a lot of business. We were able to identify the entire customer journey to know from the overall count from ad buying all the way to sales to CRM. How we are able to do this, if you have a retail store, right, with the usage of CCTV data, and you run visual analytics across it, we can actually go to the extent of identifying who are the people walking into your store, and you have multiple stores throughout the country, we will be also be able to identify that, oh, Jen has walked into store A, store B, and store C. And right now, this same guy is buying online. And this helps you to profile your clients or customers in a very accurate manner all the way up to the sales terminal on the POS. The third truth is very reflective of what the previous speaker, Zinchi, also shared about, is that businesses keep placing data into silos. They say that's complicated, they don't have time, but essentially it's they don't know what they're doing. And I'll give you an example, very quickly. So, very similar funnel you see here. A lot of us as businesses are on a lot of platforms, right? Maybe more than what you see on screen right now. And the problem here is that, again, we designate different departments to handle different parts of our reporting process. You get where I'm going? Some of you have your own marketing teams. Your marketing teams will handle your social media reports internally. Maybe your website provider, your system developer, they will provide you with some sort of a tech report for how many visits this guy has. And there's so many reports. Now, if you as a business owner, at the end of the month or at the end of the week, you sit down and you study all 6 reports, what will you get? I tell you what you get. You get confusion. Right? Why? Simple. You see things like, hey, here got a lot of likes, very good. But here, nobody see my website at all. So is that a good month or a bad month? Many likes, less visitors. Then you go to sales, but sales also seem to be doing okay. But where are sales coming from? The data that you get at this point of time in individual reports are so decentralized that you couldn't understand. So the right way to actually do this looks complicated, but it really isn't. One slide back, please. All right. One slide front. Voice recognition. The ability to actually spend time doing what is in this blue box, to be able to consolidate data. Whether if you're not technical at all, just use a simple CSV, import all these different data sources, put them into one table, put them into one mega sheet, right? And then spend time actually doing what we call mapping. So very simple. Maybe you don't need a data science degree or whatnot to do this, right? It's very simple. All you need to do is sit down and to ask yourself, what is your objective running on digital campaigns? If you are looking at sales or conversions or leads or branding or awareness or whatnot, you as the business owner needs to first quantify what will give you, what is a matrix you want to see. Is likes important? If not, that's not something you want to consolidate. If you say sales, okay, sales meaning what? Sales from where? Are you going to get just data from your POS machines, or are you going to consider e-commerce as part of it as well? How about all the PM me on Facebook and Instagram? Do you count that as sales as well? So what you want to do is that you draw up your own matrix. You go into all this data, you look into them and see what relates to you, you combine them, eliminate those that don't make sense. And then ultimately, last but not least, then only spend time drawing graphs and whatever else. Now, the thing is that this process only needs to happen once. You just need to set aside a day, sit down, tell yourself, okay, these are all the objectives that I need. These are the matrix I'm going to do it, set it up, and most of the time you can just automate it on a monthly basis. There are some tools out there that can help you speed up this process. If I don't have the time to go through them, but if you want to know more, you can actually speak to me right after this session as well. But let me give you an example. So going to reports, right? So just to share with you, how can you get started? So you can just start yourself with this very simple question. Who are my repeat customers and what are their favorite items they'd like to buy from me, okay? So assuming that this is a question from a company that has both an online and offline presence. So typically, what can potentially happen is that if you're able to break down some of these keywords, what you should be able to derive are the types of data you want to collect to help you quantify who is the who in this statement. For repeat customers, what kind of data type will qualify my customers as a repeat customer? And last but not least, what kind of platforms can I get it for? So in this case, I could say that, to identify what are the items being sold, I can look at my e-commerce data, I can look at my website data, and maybe my offline store POS machines. But to know who are my repeated customers, not only will we look at what is being sold on e-commerce, I'll combine CRM information and even maybe some sensors in my store to see how many people actually walked in. And when all this is combined, this is what you eventually get. Just by this very simple statement, right? Your final report, you'll be able to get something called a customer profile group. Grouped by behavioral patterns. You will be able to know which customer group are the ones, how many of them made one purchase every week. You'll be able to know who visited these particular stores in a sequence or certain rotation. You will be able to also find out whether there's a similarity of age groups of customers' demographics between online and offline, and so on, just by one single statement and taking the time breaking down to all the different relevant data types for your company. I started off by telling you this statement: we are all fighting a pool of payment, which is true. But at the same time, in the last few minutes, I would like to throw the question back to you. When all of us are already fighting in this pool of multi-channel, right? Why aren't we spending more time to make sense out of the customer journey and to create more value? Why are we just still looking at the number of ads, looking at conversions as an end number, but missing out on all the in-betweens? There's a lot of data throughout our entire daily lives, but we are not spending time uncovering them. And that's a really, really huge waste. I know I sped through a little bit in this particular session because of certain technical clickings, but really, if you want to know a little bit more of what we do and how we can help, or how you can help yourself in terms of data, I'll be more than happy to take these conversations further after this session. Thank you very much.